Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the life, legacy, and leadership of one of Africa's most captivating and polarizing figures, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the interim president of Burkina Faso. If you've been following global politics, particularly in West Africa, you've likely heard his name. At just 37 years old, Traoré is the youngest head of state in the world, a military officer turned revolutionary leader who's shaking up the Sahel region with bold moves, fierce nationalism, and a vision for a sovereign Burkina Faso. This is a long one, folks, so grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's unpack everything about Ibrahim Traoré. His origins, his rise to power, his policies, his controversies, and why he's become a symbol of hope for some and a figure of concern for others. By the end of this, you'll know why Traoré is a name that resonates far beyond the borders of Burkina Faso. Let's get started. First, let's talk about who Ibrahim Traoré is and where he comes from. Born on March 14, 1988, in the small rural town of Kui, Burkina Faso, Traoré's early life was shaped by the realities of a country grappling with poverty, political instability, and the legacy of colonialism. Kui, located in the agricultural west of Burkina Faso, is a place where life is tied to the land. And Traoré's upbringing in this modest setting instilled in him a deep connection to the struggles of ordinary Burkinabe people. Sources describe him as a shy but intelligent child, someone who stood out not for flamboyance, but for his quiet determination and sharp mind. Growing up in a region far from the urban centers of Ouagadougou or Bobo-Dioulasso, Traoré's early years were grounded in the values of community, resilience, and hard work, values that would later define his leadership style. Education played a pivotal role in Traoré's journey. After completing primary school in Kui, he pursued higher education at the prestigious University of Ouagadougou, one of Burkina Faso's leading academic institutions. There, he studied geology, a field that might seem unrelated to his eventual path as a military and political figure, but it speaks to his analytical mindset and curiosity about the world. At university, Traoré was not just a student, he was active in student organizations, showing early signs of leadership and a knack for mobilizing others. His time at the University of Ouagadougou exposed him to the political currents of the time, including debates about Burkina Faso's dependence on foreign powers and the legacy of revolutionary leader Thomas Sankara, whose ideas would later influence Traoré's worldview. But academia was only part of his story. Like many young Burkinabe men seeking opportunity and discipline, Traoré chose a career in the military, a decision that would catapult him onto the national and international stage. Traoré joined the Burkinabe army in 2009 at the age of 21 and quickly distinguished himself as a capable and committed soldier. His military training took him beyond Burkina Faso's borders, including a stint in Morocco, where he specialized in anti-aircraft defense. This international exposure gave him a broader perspective on military strategy and global geopolitics, which would later inform his decisions as a leader. Back in Burkina Faso, Traoré rose through the ranks, eventually becoming a captain and serving in an artillery regiment in the northern town of Kaya. This was no small feat for a man from a rural background, as the military in Burkina Faso, like in many countries, can be a competitive and hierarchical institution. His service coincided with a turbulent period in Burkina Faso's history, marked by jihadist insurgencies, political upheaval, and growing public frustration with the government's inability to address these crises. Traoré's experience on the front lines, particularly in the north, where he faced the realities of combating insurgent groups, shaped his understanding of Burkina Faso's security challenges and the limitations of its reliance on foreign military support, particularly from France. Now, let's get to the moment that changed everything: Traoré's rise to power. In January 2022, Burkina Faso experienced a military coup that ousted President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore, who had been criticized for his handling of escalating jihadist violence that had killed thousands and displaced millions. The coup was led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, who became interim president. Traoré, then a relatively unknown captain, was part of the military junta that supported Damiba. However, by September 2022, discontent within the military and among the public had reached a boiling point. Damiba's government was seen as failing to deliver on promises of security and stability, and Traoré emerged as the leader of a second coup on September 30th, 2022. At just 34 years old, he declared himself interim president of Burkina Faso, citing the need for stronger leadership to combat insurgency and restore national pride. This dramatic ascent made him the youngest head of state in the world, a title he still holds today, outranking even Ecuador's president Daniel Noboa. Traoré's leadership style is where things get really interesting, and it's why he's become such a polarizing figure. From the moment he took power, he positioned himself as a revolutionary in the mold of Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's iconic former president who championed self-reliance, anti-imperialism, and social justice before his assassination in 1987. Traoré has openly embraced Sankara's legacy, often invoking his name and adopting a similar rhetoric of sovereignty and Pan-Africanism. One of his first major moves was to pivot Burkina Faso's foreign policy away from its traditional ally, France, and toward Russia. He expelled French troops, ended military agreements with France, and welcomed Russian forces to assist in countering jihadist insurgencies. This shift has been hailed by supporters as a bold rejection of neocolonialism, but criticized by detractors as a risky alignment with a new foreign power. Posts on X reflect the sentiment among some fans who praise Traoré for exposing the West's biggest fear, an Africa that doesn't need them. On the domestic front, Traoré has prioritized security and economic self-sufficiency. Burkina Faso has been plagued by jihadist groups linked to al-Qaeda and the Islamic State, which have wreaked havoc in the Sahel. Traoré has restructured the military, increased recruitment, and launched aggressive campaigns to reclaim territory. He's also taken a hands-on approach, reportedly visiting conflict zones to boost troop morale. Beyond security, he's focused on infrastructure development, with projects aimed at building roads, schools, and hospitals. Some sources claim he's refused to accept a presidential salary, choosing instead to be paid as a military captain, a move that has endeared him to many Burkinabé who see him as a humble leader. Posts on X highlight these efforts, with users noting that there is no corruption in Burkina Faso under Traoré's watch, though such claims are hard to verify independently. His government has also pushed for agricultural reforms to reduce reliance on food imports, echoing Sankara's emphasis on feeding the nation through local production. But let's not sugarcoat things. Traoré's tenure hasn't been without controversy. His rise through 2 coups has led some to label him a dictator, a comparison that surfaced in online discussions. Critics argue that his consolidation of power, including the suspension of the constitution and the dissolution of political institutions, undermines democratic principles. The expulsion of French forces, while popular among many Burkinabé, has raised concerns about Burkina Faso's ability to combat insurgency without Western support, especially given Russia's limited track record in the region. Traoré's alignment with Russia has also drawn scrutiny, with some accusing him of trading one form of foreign influence for another. Then, there's the issue of assassination attempts. Reports suggest he's survived nearly 20 documented plots since taking power, a testament to both his resilience and the intense opposition he faces. These challenges highlight the precarious nature of his leadership and the high stakes of his gamble to reshape Burkina Faso's future. What makes Traoré so compelling to his supporters, both in Burkina Faso and across the African diaspora, is his image as a man of the people. Unlike many leaders who govern from the safety of palaces, Traoré is known for engaging directly with citizens, visiting rural communities, and listening to their concerns. His rhetoric is fiery yet accessible, often delivered in a straightforward manner that resonates with a population tired of elite politics. He's been described as a retro-revolutionary, blending Sankara's idealism with a modern pragmatism that appeals to a younger generation. Videos and posts on platforms like YouTube and X portray him as a savior, with titles like From Zero to Hero and The Journey of Ibrahim Traoré, emphasizing his humble beginnings and transformative impact. For many, he represents a new wave of African leadership, unapologetic, defiant, and focused on reclaiming the continent's destiny. Yet, it's important to approach Traoré's story with nuance. While his achievements like economic growth, debt management, and infrastructure projects are notable, the long-term sustainability of his policies remains uncertain. Burkina Faso faces immense challenges, from ongoing insecurity to economic fragility, and Traoré's reliance on military rule raises questions about the country's path to stability. His admirers see him as a visionary, but his critics warn of the dangers of authoritarianism. As one Reddit user put it, Ibrahim is a dictator, just like Thomas Sankara was. And we should be skeptical about dictators in general, but the question is, what kind of dictator will he be? This duality, hero to some, dictator to others, is what makes Traoré such a fascinating figure. So, where does Ibrahim Traoré go from here? At 37, he's still young, with the potential to shape Burkina Faso's trajectory for decades. His vision of a self-reliant, secure, and prosperous nation is ambitious, but it's fraught with obstacles. The jihadist threat remains a persistent challenge, and his foreign policy choices will continue to draw international scrutiny. Domestically, he'll need to balance his revolutionary ideals with the practical demands of governance, including restoring democratic institutions and fostering inclusivity. For his fans, Traoré is a beacon of hope, a leader who's dared to challenge the status quo and put Burkina Faso on the map. For his critics, he's a gamble, a young man wielding immense power in a volatile region. Either way, his story is far from over, and the world is watching. To wrap this up, I want to thank you all for sticking with me through this deep dive into Ibrahim Traoré's life and leadership. From his roots in Bondoukoui to his meteoric rise as Burkina Faso's interim president, Traoré is a figure who defies easy categorization. He's a soldier, a revolutionary, a geologist, and a statesman, all rolled into one. His journey reflects the hopes and struggles of a nation and a continent at a crossroads. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think about Traoré. Is he the savior Burkina Faso needs, or is he walking a dangerous path? Drop your thoughts below and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.